Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we got Ty, we got Jamison, full squad's back together. And hey, guess what, guys? OU actually has a winning streak now. 2 in a row. Look at that. Beautiful. Yeah, that's right. OU got another win, road win against TCU. So if they could just play all of their games in DFW, we would be set. But they won't. So that's just kind of how it goes. So Jamison, you were at the game at Amon Carter Stadium. You've been there before, but what was the atmosphere like on the road with, I guess, I don't know, just on the road in COVID times? What was it like?
Yeah, it was nice, the stadium, just like your basic game day. But let me tell you something. The TCU fans have already given up on that team, and they gave up on them before the game. It was like if you were a New York Jets fan giving up on the team. It was pretty bad. The people around me, as soon as Spencer Rattler came out there and was throwing dimes on that first possession, and that second, whenever our defense came out, man, were they just dogging on that offensive line. We had some really angry old fans around us. It was quite enjoyable on our end. There was not a single frustrating time in the stadium. TCU was quiet as quiet could be. It was honestly a great experience.
Yeah, sounds like a solid time. Percentage of OU fans there were solid group there.
Yeah, it was honestly pretty decent. It's because there's a lot of Oklahoma families around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I don't know how many really people traveled, but there's a lot of people that can't get into TCU in Texas that end up going to OU. So I think that there's a decent population there. But all in all, really not that memorable, not hostile in the slightest. Legitimately, as soon as you walk in, I feel like you're just walking into TCU's funeral. That's how they felt. And I'm not trying to be cocky for OU's in because I understand it was going to be a decent game. Like,
here we go.
TCU games, we don't have the best history at TCU. It's always usually pretty close. They throw out the Wheaton boys and we crumble, but it just felt completely different. I walked in feeling pretty dang confident, and it was quiet the whole time. That's really what it was.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it was a good time. Ty, did you have a good time watching the game? Did you just kind of hang out? Anything?
I guess morning OU games on TV are always kind of weird because you get that sort of, watching a game in the morning, at least for me, that you're like emotionally invested in. And then it's like after it's over, regardless of how it goes, it's almost like I'm kind of burnout on football for the day. Like it kind of ruins later games for me. If I'm going to watch one on TV, I prefer when it's in the evening because I can kind of, carry my motivation to watch college football through the day. So,
yeah, that's why 2:30 is perfect because you get the build up. Then you don't have to wait too long. It's perfect. I love those games. But I agree. I feel like after 11, I'm just like, well, what do I do now in my day? So I totally feel that. Well, let's get down into it. Let's get down into the meat and potatoes of this. And let's talk about that OU defense. So Sooners held TCU to 7 until about 3 minutes left, gave up that extra touchdown. Where does this rank in all-time speed D performances? Ty, I'll let you take this one.
I mean, I really liked it. It was a good performance, obviously. I liked it schematically, and big props. I guess if we're going to give out game balls, big props to the linebackers as a whole. I thought. I don't know if I could rank it in terms of all-time speed D games because I don't really know where people are going to draw the line personally as to where that begins. Does that begin, when Alex Grinch got here, or yes. I'm sure there are some people that are going to say, "Oh, it began this year," and things like that. So I'm not sure if I could rank it. It's definitely not in the bottom. Obviously, we won and we held them to 14, but I think it may have had a lot more to do with TCU than it did with us. I think that this same performance defensively against, say, Oklahoma State, it would not have been a 14-point for the opponent game. So,
yeah, we weren't exactly going against a prolific offense at all. Max Duggan, give him credit. Guy's a good quarterback, but man, he does not have a lot of assets to work with. But overall, good performance. Love to see it. Jamison, I guess rank was the wrong word. Was this one of Grinch's and the Speed defense as a whole's finer? Was this one of their better performances?
Not for Grinch on his sake, because there's no turnovers. That's what we need. And unfortunately, when you don't get any turnovers, Grinch is going to be rolling around in his bed, can't sleep that night. All in all, it was solid. But like Ty said, TCU's running game and offensive line was an absolute embarrassment the whole game. They didn't have anything. Everyone was clamoring for Zach Evans. Everyone was trashing on the offensive line. And it was true. It's very one-dimensional. And Max Duggan, like you said, he's a good quarterback, but a quarterback can only do so much when you don't have any utility pieces around you. And it was really tough for them. We had some good performances. Our defensive line was another solid play. You saw guys like Marcus Stripling go out there and make a sack, a guy that we haven't really heard his name all year. Isaiah Thomas, another solid game. Perrion Winfrey made some good plays, some good shifts on the defensive tackle. Linebackers were all right. Asamoah had a sack, but all in all, missed a couple of gaps. But yeah, another solid game from Ugwebu. All in all, great, solid game. There's really nothing you can get mad about.
Can we just jump into the obvious?
Hey,
let's get your take first, and then we can.
I'm just saying, there's a reason I put him last on my rung of writing things out, because I didn't want the whole thing to be about him.
Oh, so I didn't know we had a plan.
No, it's just for me. I just wrote it out for myself. I probably should share those things with everyone.
I just want to make sure it's not missed.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it won't be missed. Trust me. But DL, incredible. Like you said, all three of those guys, Thomas, Stokes, and Winfrey, all had 2 solo tackles. Each also had a tackle for loss included in those. And then the secondary, I thought, played shaky. I mean, there were some, kind of open plays at times. TCU got, more big plays than you like, but nothing big enough to hurt us. I don't know. Ty, besides the guy you're going to go off on, what did you think of our secondary? And then I'll kick it to Jamison on his thoughts as well.
Hang on. I clicked on an ESPN page and I had the mysterious advertisement. Okay, so
it gets me every time too.
The secondary defensively, I think the one thing I think it's going to sound really sort of nitpicky, maybe, but it's sort of the one thing that stuck with me defensively, besides the obvious in the secondary, is Washington got some more play, which we like to see. Saw some mistakes out of him, but hopefully they will be learning opportunities. But that was the one thing that I stuck with was, hey, he's out there getting some play time, which is nice to see.
Yeah, more burn with Woody is always a good thing. Jamison, just real quick, your one standout from the secondary.
Yeah, I was going to say the standout is, if you're looking at snap counts, it was almost like divided in 3 for Woody, Jaden Davis, and Trey Brown. Trey Brown had 43 snaps, Woody Washington had 38, and Jaden Davis had 37. Woody Washington has supplanted himself into that rotation. And all in all, from our outside cornerbacks, there wasn't too much to get mad about him. Like I said, even just thinking about this game a couple days after, there's not much that sticks in my brain. And that is a great thing to think about whenever it's defense. I always say it. And the offensive linemen and defense, if you can't think much about them, they did a pretty good job, and especially for an OU's defense. But there's one person that's been hanging in my mind, and I want to hear Ty's thought about it.
Let's just get to it. I mean, this man is literally Jekyll and Hyde, because I know
he's little.
Little Jekyll and Hyde. But look, before we rip into the guy, Buki Radley-Hiles led the game in tackles, 9 tackles, 8 solo. The closest number of tackles as a whole were 5, and the closest numbers of solo. I don't know what I'm saying here. The 2 close. I'm botching this bad. I'm going to cut this. So Buki, hold on, 9 tackles, 8 solo. The player who got closest tackle-wise had 5, and the player that got closest solo tackle-wise had 4. So, in general, lots of tackles. But then there's the mistakes. Ty, I'm just going to leave this out for you. Like, I don't
So
know.
if we only look at his good stats, this was his best game of the year. He got half of his solo tackles this year in this game, more than half actually, mathematically speaking. So I mean, this was his best game all year if you just look at the good stats. But just again, it's just pure like stupidity. Like I don't understand how you can be at this level and do the things that he does. Like I was cracking up during the game because our friend Blake that was on last week texted us at one point. It was like, hey, and this was like first or second quarter before we'd even seen, the full just stupidity unfold. And he was like, I thought you guys just gave this guy a hard time. Like I had no idea that he was actually this legitimately infuriating to have on your team in terms of just stupid penalties. And he got away with some too. That one that ended up being on the TCU player early in the game was honestly kind of bullshit. It was not. It was that example of it's always the one that retaliates that gets penalized. But yeah, it's just I don't understand how you can make these mistakes like he does.
Yeah, it was legitimately right in front of me. The unsportsmanlike conduct on that first defensive possession where he had just like given up a pass, and then he goes over there and he starts shushing the sideline of TCU, talking trash in this guy. And I'm like, you have no ground. But take a side. Like we've been really going on Buki. I'm going to go back and I'll play devil's advocate because we never do it here. And I understand that. And to our listeners that applaud Buki, if there's some out there, let me play your voice right now. So thank you to my friends at TFB. He was the number 1 rated player on Pro Football Focus for this week in this game. That's impressive.
It doesn't factor.
Yes, I understand, and it takes a lot into account his open tackles. And whenever you have a secondary guy getting a lot of open tackles, does that mean he's just giving too much cushion on his routes and he's just making easy tackles with 15-yard gains? That could be a thing. Another thing is with confidence and all this, I would rather have a guy in the secondary that is extremely confident and trash talks, because confidence speaks into action, than a guy is extremely mellow and does not perform as unsure of himself. So if he was extremely unsure of himself, and he would be 20 times worse. The problem there is, going away from the devil advocate, is the trash talking leads to stupid, unsportsmanlike conducts and gets him into trouble, a la LSU game, a la should have been this game.
Yeah, absolutely. We got away with that one big time on that personal foul. For sure, that should have been probably on Buki. I know TCU didn't help their cause by running up to him, but again, that was all Buki. Like Jamison said, he saw it right there. Everyone saw it. But that's the thing. You're kind of playing with fire with this guy because he has probably as much energy as anybody, on that secondary, maybe even on the defense as a whole, in terms of flying around, really, making snap decisions. And that bites him not just in, personal bad judgment decisions in terms of, personal fouls, but in terms of some of his judgments as a secondary guy, in terms of, making his reads. So you really, that's the problem is you have to figure out if it's worth it to have, that much aggression when it could really bite you in the ass. And thankfully for OU, it didn't here. I think that's something at this point you would hope he would weed out a little bit, but it's really, you take the good with the bad, and you have to figure out, is the bad that bad?
No, I don't have an issue like with the trash talking. Like I'm a fan of that as well. Well, not a fan if it's going to cause penalties and stuff, but yeah, to Jamison's point, I love that he's confident, and to your point, I love the energy that he brings. But it's like and I know it wasn't this week, but like hitting a dude on a punt return before the guy even touches the ball, and then arguing with the ref saying he didn't signal for fair catch. Like that's just stupid. Like, and it seems like those sort of things like that have always occurred with him, but it seems like he's gotten worse this year. like that was like a once every 2 week thing. He'd have some sort of like targeting someone that wasn't even involved in the play or something like he did against LSU. But now it seems like every week he has like a penalty where it's not even like trash talking. Like it's just like, I don't understand why you didn't get thrown out for this, but like what are you even doing here? And then, you also we also have to factor in that he is personally responsible for one of their touchdowns. So half of their points were also just on him getting exposed. So I think
that's fair. That's part of it. Yeah. That's just a height thing, really. But overall, I think
I'm glad you brought that up though, because I think that's why he had such a good game when you look at just his good stats, because he was constantly getting targeted. They were constantly trying to exploit that height. And I don't really think after watching the replay that he just had a standout game. It was just there were situations where they put so many WRs out there that he was in a man coverage situation and they just kept targeting him, which over the course of a game, him being targeted it was at least 9 times because one was a touchdown. And I know not all the solo tackles are off of that, but I think that TCU had more to do with his stat line this game than anything else. And it's because they were so sort of one-dimensional in the threat that they presented to us. I think Patterson really tried to exploit that height difference because it's something that you can exploit, and they just weren't really able to do it too much, which I guess maybe to his credit. But yeah, I think that's all I have on him this week. We'll have some good stuff next week, I know.
Yeah, for sure. But just to wrap up, defense side of the ball, giving out game balls, I'm just going to give it to the whole D line. They all played pretty evenly great. If you look at their stat lines, pretty much mirroring each other. So really great work from that position group as a whole. So what we thought would be one of our weakest points in all of this has actually turned out to be pretty decent. So Jamison, who gets your defensive game ball?
Yeah, it's tough. It's kind of hard to give it to one person because no one really went out and made a big play. No one did really solid. So, I'll give it to D-line. I'll just highlight Stripling because I feel like Stripling was a guy that we thought that was going to kind of make more of an impact this season. Got a lot of contact tracing and COVID, and it enlightened us into Isaiah Thomas. And he came out and got a sack this game. So good for him. We'll see how much of an impact he makes on this team moving forward with Ronnie Perkins maybe coming back here this weekend. But yeah, I'll give it to Stripling.
Ty, quick 30-second game ball before we
move to the offense. I think I want to agree with you guys and just go D-line, but I don't want to just give it straight down the line. So I think real quick, the only logical conclusion is that TCU's offensive line deserves OU's defensive game ball for this game.
Their line was really rough.
Because we're an arrogant podcast, or I forget the word.
We're the most arrogant podcasters there have ever been. Easy. So let's talk about the offense. 3-2. Hey, we're back over 500. We're back on our
Cowboys fans. Yeah,
we're way back. We're way back. We're going to the college football playoff, y'all. We got this. Okay, so let's talk about this offense a little bit. So one thing I've kind of wanted to see over the past couple of weeks is seeing that offense open up, kind of, start to click, look a little bit better through 4 quarters. And I think we kind of saw that this week. Spencer Rattler looked a lot more mature, a lot more patient in the pocket. I thought he had a great game. 0 turnovers on one Rattler, 0 turnovers. That's great. But the offense, no turnovers overall at all. So honestly, I'm pretty pumped about it. Jamison, what are your thoughts on Rattler's composure this game?
Yeah, it was great. Like you said, he didn't make too many mistakes. My biggest thing on him is he had a lot of beautiful touch passes. There was one to Seth McGowan up the left sideline, just a perfect little ball right into the breadbasket. The couples to Marvin Mims. They were beautiful passes, absolutely in the right spot at the right time. And that's my take. Like, it was great to see that.
Absolutely. That's the type of throws that you see the clips over the past couple of years. You're like, this is what we're going to get. And when people talk about that kind of Mahomesian touch, we saw that this game, I feel like. Ty, thoughts on Rattler?
So I have 3 thoughts on Spencer. One, I think this is the one that should go first. We saw a lot more improvement if we look at it as a whole. If you were to chart it, there were definitely some dips where you could see him regressing into maybe some old things and not fully accepting of this, part of the defense or part of the offense and not being the entire offense thing like he has been his whole life. Second take with that, though, which I think maybe would be a caveat to that, our scheme throwing wise this game was very much the throws that he wants to be throwing all the time. Like, we were taking a ton of deep shots because we could, and had a lot of dudes going on big 15, 20, 30-yard pass plays. And those are the plays that he tries to force all of the time. Like, he's always looking for that deep dude to try to get, these long touchdowns. So I think maybe our perception of his buy-in to the offense is skewed a little bit because he was buying in or having to buy in or execute what he has been trying to force this entire year, that sort of hero complex, or constantly wanting every play to be a big highlight hero play. And then I think third take, which will probably carry us through to some more discussion, is what I've been wanting to see, and it looked like it's occurred schematically in terms of play calling and depth chart, is Mims continuing to move up, maybe even to that number 1 WR spot. And I think that helps Rattler immensely, because Rambo is not your dude that you can count on all of the time. He's a great dude to have in your back pocket that's going to give you 4 plays a game, maybe, of effort. But Mims absolutely should be our number 1 dude, I think. And I think we saw that, and I think that really helped Spence.
Yeah, I think we can just go ahead and get it over with. Marvin Mims has my offensive game ball easy. Oh my gosh, did we just lose power? No, we didn't. We're good. Mims got it's a weird time here in Oklahoma, folks, with this ice storm. Mims, hands down, is the offensive game ball of this game. Electric performance, Big 12 co-offensive player of the week, newcomer of the week. Great stuff for him. Gotta love it. Not only that, but let's just talk about him. We finally got to see him make big catches in the second half, something that has been absent, I believe, really just the entire season. I don't even remember what Ty would refer to as Montana State, but he's been very kind of absent in the second half, so it's good to see him get a more complete game. Jamison, what did you like to see? What did you like out of Mims? Jamison?
Yeah, what I like. Hey, can you hear me? Sorry.
I can hear you. Sorry.
Power's a little weird.
This power is weird.
Yeah. So like you said, Mims, it was consistent. And the thing is with this game, in the passing game, it's kind of weird to take from it because Spencer only completed 13 passes. Ty said we're looking for the deep ball. No one got over 4 catches. He was targeting, Stogner a lot, but I feel like the D-backs for TCU did a really good job on Stogner. We knew that coming in, that the safeties were going to be good. There's a lot of plays where we threw it to Stogner, and he kind of boxed him out with his big body, and the TCU backs were there. That was really impressive. But the thing is, they could not hold us in the deep ball. Theo Weiss, McGowan, Marvin Mims, all of them had big deep balls, and it completely broke them down. And after we got it comfortable, we were up 17-0. Riley's famous for kind of, just chilling out for a little bit. It got a little bit dicier, when it went 17-7 at halftime, and then we just hit him again in the third quarter. Really this game was not too much to bat an eye at and to overanalyze on both sides of the ball, because to be honest, it was just kind of we were going through the motions, and that's really really what it is. It's not cocky. It's what it was. We just went through the motions this game.
They just went out and executed.
Yeah, I think to tie into what Jamison just said, Riley does have that sort of backing off the gas thing. But I think that this was a really important game for the receiving corps because Jamison touched on it. We saw that TCU in their game planning by far, which statistically everything backs this up, their entire sort of pass scheme defensively was to shut down Stogner, which they did. And like Stogner was out there, absolutely grinding for his 2 catches because you could tell that their focus was on shutting him down. But that's what I enjoy because I don't think that we intended to put Mims as the number 1 dude for the whole game. And granted, he did only get 4 receptions. But he was able to step into that role. And when our primary target this year, Stogner, was shut down, he, started to get those looks and open up. So I think this saw or showed our depth and our ability for our young guys to step up. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Stogner, the second the ball got to him, bang, they hit him right there. Ended up in a drop too many times. Well, I know you want to see him absorb the hit, make that catch. That's just really good defense on TCU's part. At the time, I was
double covered a lot too.
Yeah, for sure.
Absurd for a tight end.
Yeah. And I want to kind of touch on Theo Weiss, though. That was probably one of his best games as a Sooner. 87 yards. I thought he looked pretty solid out there. Jamison, did you like Weiss at all?
Yeah, I did. It's kind of hard to beat his Baylor game, but yeah, it was great. And what Spencer said, and we touched on this in the past weeks, he's got to target him more, and he knows he has to. This was just not a good week to showcase, Spencer Rattler getting the ball to the right guys. Because like I said, it was pretty much chalk. I think once next week comes back, I think the biggest storyline is Theo Weiss. We thought that he was going to have great rapport with Spencer and he was going to be dominant, get a lot of targets. Was that his guy in the 2019 class? Now we got another guy coming in with Trajan Bridges. Is Trajan Bridges going to come in and get a lot of targets from Spencer? Does Spencer play favorites? Is he that kind of quarterback? I would honestly love both sides of that coin. If he plays favorites and throws the ball to Trajan, that'd be a great story for us because we kind of need a guy. We've been teeter-tottering on this whole season of who's our number 1. And we've just been dying to have a number 1 because that's what OU does the whole year. But also at the same time, we would really like to have a balanced passing attack. Young quarterbacks get the ball all the time turned over because they focus on one guy too much. So all in all, you know what? I'm really excited to see Trajan Bridges this weekend.
Yeah. Hey, I got to say, we need to get the social some more views. So I'm just going to ask, is Jaden Hazelwood coming back? Question mark. Is he close?
That's a hell of a question. With ACLs, it's 6 to 9 months for what? What do you like?
No, I'm laughing because I saw a tweet earlier that said, "What do ACLs even do? When's the last time you guys heard about a good thing an ACL did? It seems like they exist just to tear and ruin your entire year."
Yeah. I'm not going to go full nerd on this, but
oh no, no, that was not an actual question.
Don't tempt Jamison with a good time here.
Don't tempt me with an ACL question.
I will not fall for your tricks, Ty.
So yeah, kind of disappointing.
So I think Hazelwood is. I'm not sure on this, but last I checked, I think it was late April. So I think it's just over 6 months with his recovery table. So you were cleared with a normal ACL. You were cleared to play at that 6 month mark. I think he tore. So I'm just now looking up. He tore it around April 25th, 24th area and got surgery around then. So this would be just around the 6 month mark. But whenever you're cleared to play after an ACL, you are not ready. You don't see any people really, except for Adrian Peterson, really come back, or like a quarterback that doesn't require much mobility, come back off an ACL from 6 months. But what they're saying is the stereotypical talk, Lincoln saying he's recovered better than anybody, had a great mindset, only took a day of pouting. But and they're like, oh, but it could be a partial tear, and maybe he'd get back. The thing is with ACLs, partial tear, full tear, it's not going to change the story too much. Can he come back at the end of the season? Yes. He's not going to be a big contributor. His athleticism, his vertical up and down as a pass target is going to be there. His straight line speed is going to be there, but cuts, slants, cross routes, he's not going to have that kind of separation until he gets to that 9-month or that 12-month mark. Just simple as that with ACL recovery. ACLs are there for lateral quickness. And I mean, he can come back and play, but I feel like we've seen this story with many, many athletes all the time. They come back early and it just takes a little bit for them to get their groove back.
Absolutely. I was kind of meaning that as a joke, but there's actually a lot of good insight there. Thank you, Jamison. So we talked about the offense a lot, but we haven't even talked about one of our biggest strengths yet. Our running game. Ball. Oh. Out of nowhere. Well, Beamer ball for sure. We'll talk about that.
Well, Beamer ball was not good because of who.
Hey, Mims had a good one.
Robbed Stogner.
Look, I'm just saying. We haven't talked about our running back stable. Another great game from Pledger. 122 yards on 22 carries, averaged about 5.5 yards per carry. Great stuff. We got to see McGowan come back. So, Ty, how are you feeling about the running back group, which, again, kind of rose out of nowhere when we needed it most?
Yeah, I think most importantly, we're seeing – regardless of how well they play, I think the most important thing is sort of developing or formalizing a sort of hierarchy there. And I think that we're seeing, or we saw in this game, what ideally is the best case scenario for OU this year. And that's Pledger stepping up as the sort of main guy, the older guy that's getting, the primary load, and that allows McGowan, the younger guy, clearly the more promising of the younger guys. Cold take by me early in the year. Well, I didn't say that he wasn't going to be good, but it's if we can take the load off of McGowan and let him be that guy that can get plugged in, get his time to rest. Because with a running back, the strength development as you go through college is also huge. But then also that time where he can be on the sideline and sort of look at the game from that aspect as well and learn, I think is really important. So that was the thing that I like the most to see out of the running backs this past week.
Jamison?
Yeah, it's nice to see some kind of, a solid attack, something that you kind of feel good about when TJ Pledger gets the ball. He had a lot of good runs. And here's the moral of the story. The offensive line's getting it together now. Even though Swinson came out again at the beginning of the game, which makes 0 sense, those Marquise Hayes had a hell of a game. Adrian Ely had a hell of a game. Our offensive line played really well. And that's opening up that run game. Pledger, he's done his job. He came in at the right time, because if he would have kept it up like he was at the beginning of the season, Ramondre Stevenson would have came in this weekend and completely taken over the attack. Now, TJ Pledger, it's his to lose. Ramondre is going to get a couple carries, but Pledger's going to get, 15 carries a game probably now moving forward. And that's great for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about linemen, Chris Murray had another pretty solid game, and a solid game, honestly, on the O-line stand of things. He came in, I thought he changed the nature of the game a little bit, added a little bit of protection. That guy is a crucial piece for us going forward, and it's really frustrating that we didn't have him for some of those earlier games. It's one of those, if we had this guy earlier, I don't know, I think some of our O-line issues would not really be there. But I don't know. One guy doesn't change all of it. But one guy can change a game, and that guy usually gets a game ball. I said mine was Mims. I don't need to say anything more about it. So, Jamison, Ty, quick, who is your offensive game ball of the game?
Mims. Next question.
Also Mims, yeah, unfortunately.
I just wanted to verify it. It
was very cut and dry this week. Yeah, I hate when we're all sort of the same. Not that we should be arguing about it, but it was very cut and dry this week.
Absolutely. We're running a little long. So we're just kind of going to rush through our Texas Tech preview. Let's get down to it. So Tech having a little bit of issues with the Coco, not the other, not the normal Coco, not the normal Coco. They have an issue with coronavirus. Two Tech players tested positive on their last testing round last week. The city of Lubbock and Texas Tech as a whole is kind of a hot spot right now. Is there, Jamison, you have little birds out there everywhere. Is there any danger?
Are they chirping?
Are they chirping? Is there any danger this game getting canceled?
No, they haven't posted anything yet on the boards about it. Whenever you see 3 players or 2 players or whatever test positive, it's really about the contact trace. And to be completely frank, I don't know if I'm reading into this too much, but it's hard for me to think that, I feel like things are getting a little bit more smooth for college football as a whole than there was at the beginning of the season. We're not seeing as many people cancel games, and I would like to think it's not because everybody already got it and people are safe. But I feel like that universities have kind of gotten a hold of how to handle the contact tracing thing, kind of figure out how to not get half of their team in tracing after one test. After one positive test. I feel like people have been smarter with that. I feel like there's probably some behind the scenes things of oh, you wrote down that you were in this place. They have really good alibis, blah, blah, blah. They said they have masks in their house and it makes it work, So I think that's what it is moving forward. I don't know how they do it down in Lubbock. I don't trust any kind of health protocols in Lubbock, to be completely frank with y'all there. But yeah, moving forward, you never know. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. I think they get tested Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. So I feel like we're going to learn a lot. Thursday is going to be the big day for that.
Yeah, a lot can happen. So hopefully everything works out. It's OU's been doing fine. Other than that kind of scare for the Missouri State game, everything's been pretty smooth. And then Kansas State also kind of an issue. But anyways, let's talk about the actual game. Texas Tech, not great. We've heard them compared to a dog in a sheet attempting to look like a ghost. And then they went and beat West Virginia on a defensive touchdown.
West Virginia's not good this year.
That's the thing. West Virginia's not good, but also Texas Tech also probably not good. I don't know what to think about this team. I think their quarterback, this Columbi guy, I don't know. He's not bad. Jerry Colombo, whatever his name is. We're just gonna
read Columbi.
We're just gonna call him Jerry Columbi. I don't know. He's not bad. 22 for not pretty solid game last week. 22 for 23. Ran the ball for 40 yards. 2 touchdowns. That's fine. Ty, are you worried about Texas Tech going into this?
I mean, okay, we lost to K-State and Iowa State this year, so I have no clue. It's week by week in the Big 12 this year, which I think you could argue makes it exciting, or maybe it doesn't. I'm assuming Bowman has punctured his paper lungs again, and that's why he's not playing. I don't do this he's the guy from SpongeBob that cries himself to sleep every night after heart attacks and stuff.
Oh no!
But yeah, it's just
they benched Bowman.
He's been there for 15 years. So.
Did he get straight up benched, or we talked about this last week? He got benched.
They're covering it up.
I just looked it up. They said Texas Tech benches Alan Bowman. We'll move forward with Henry Columbi.
Dirty Columbi over here. So last year,
I don't know what I expected Henry Columbi to look like, but I just clicked on his ESPN, and it's not what I expected him to look like.
Yeah, he's interesting looking fella.
Also, did he transfer from somewhere? Because his ESPN photo is a Texas Tech banner behind him. And then he's in a BYU jersey.
It looks like Utah State was a transfer.
Yeah, he played at Utah State.
I was about to say a Mormon in Lubbock seems like a very confusing place.
I think Utah State is also a Mormon school, isn't it?
speaking,
What's Utah?
I don't know.
The Aggies. Anyways, about this game, am I worried about Texas Tech? No. Is it possible?
Because we're the Sooners.
Is it possible that Texas Tech wins literally by 4 touchdowns? Also, yes. So, who knows? Texas beat Tech in a shootout, so maybe it'll be a shootout. If it is a shootout, I don't know. We seem to play well under pressure like that. If we look at the overtime against Texas, most likely scenario I feel like is we get up by like 14 points, and then we just let them come back, and then we play the entire second half down a touchdown, because that's what Lincoln Riley would do.
Okay.
It's a night game in Lubbock, though. We got to think about that. Night game.
So who's the big receiver then? We've got a good name.
Okay, we've talked about this.
It's TJ Vasher.
Eric Eczema.
And he was out last
leading
year.
receiver.
Eric Eczema. Okay, last year Ty and
he's
I
6'3". Oh no.
TJ Vasher even played last game?
No. Okay, so I looked this up. TJ Vasher has been he was out for the West Virginia game. His status is questionable. Ty and I went on this big thing about Vasher last year about how he was going to be. We were like, we should look out for Vasher.
Never
He's
heard that
6'6".
name before in my life.
I just remember we put too much time and energy to like, oh, Texas Tech could be good. Vasher could be good. He had 1 catch. So Texas Tech is weird like this. Vasher, solid. I mean, he could be a good receiver, solid, and that is a blueprint type of guy that can beat OU. But also, you never know. Tech and Lubbock is just a totally different situation. It could really get weird. They don't really have a great running game. They have a guy named Sir Roderick Thompson, which if you say it like slow enough, it kind of sounds like a Game of Thrones character, Sir Roderick Thompson. But he has these big runs and then doesn't do anything else the rest of the game. He's currently listed as being hurt but not injured. And then you have a solid other guy named Taj Brooks. I don't really care about Tech's run game. But offensively, they're not as good as they used to be. Defensively, they're just mediocre. So really, they're just mediocre. Sorry, Texas Tech fans.
Columbia's from Hollywood, Florida. We have to factor that in.
Oh, that's
a factor. And he's a junior.
So are we trying to be like connect him with Hollywood Brown here? Is that like some sort of, I don't know, sketchy ESPN plot point line that we're trying to make?
Who's on the call? The 7:00 Fox game.
That's the anyone but the ABC
Is
crew.
it Tim?
I know you didn't hear it, Jameson, but oh my goodness, that game was bad.
Oh really?
God.
Did Greg McElroy?
Tessitore and McElroy?
Well, of course, yeah. McElroy is just an embarrassment of all calling. He's got some smart takes, but I every time I've listened to him, it's just been a little cringy.
The golf guy?
No, not Rory. No,
Rory.
Greg McElroy went on a rant about Buki that made Ty seem like tame.
Oh,
so it was intense. He was like, "This guy's always making mistakes," and it was intense. It was intense. In general, defense is just meh. So I'm not super worried about Tech. Things are weird in Lubbock. It's just hard to predict what's going on with Texas Tech. Hard to predict a lot with the Big 12, but all I know, just don't expect anything. So let's move on. Normally, we were kind of running low on time, so I would like to apologize to Michael Whitman, who put together a sim of the game in NCAA 14, but so we don't have time to fully break it out. He says it seems like it'll be a shootout, which sounds about right. And Spencer Rattler might turn. He said it's not if Rattler turns it over, but when. So maybe NCAA 14 has, insight. But
we should get him on sometime.
We really should, and I appreciate you putting that together again. We just blabbed too much about Buki, so thanks. Hey, thanks for listening as always, and thanks for putting that together. Yeah. Anyways, Jameson, it's time to play some Cruton Corner. What do you say? I think it's
Okay.
Yes, I'm waiting for the drop. This is send the drop.
David,
Yes.
what is this, David?
This is a
Rooted Corner with Jamison.
Everybody dancing.
Oh, that's nice.
Yxamash. So, so yeah, like I said last week, we're looking at Taylor Cetron, the Edmond Santa Fe wide receiver 2022 committed on on Saturday. It was great for the team. We got 3 wide receivers in that class now. We probably will take 1 or 2 more depending on it, but we still got a lot of feelers there. The big story of recruiting this week is we had a decommitment from our class currently of Caleb Johnson. He's a D-back out of Texas, and he's not your stereotypical 6'1", 6'2" guy, but he's got speed. He claims to have a 4.39 40, and he's a pure athlete. Has great multiple SEC offers, even though he's not ranked that high, and he's kind of just an under the radar kind of guy. But from what they're saying, around is saying like that it was more of a mutual parting. I don't know why. It's not like that we don't want any more DBs in this class, but I think that after further evaluation, I think that we're kind of moving away from him. It might be because of his size. I'm just kind of drawing straws here. From what we've seen this season, it's really nice to have speed, but Trey Brown, although he's had his plays this year, is not the guy of the future for us. Like we saw the graphic versus Iowa State. Even though if you're 5'10", 5'11", and have speed, we want you to check both boxes of speed and height. So I think we would rather take a really raw guy that's 6'1", 6'2" athlete that has speed, and hopefully we can develop and take a chance on him, for a guy that would be the 4th best D-back in this class probably, rather than just take a guy that would just be average. And it comes down to it, would you rather have a high chance of having a guy that be really, really good moving in the future, or just an average guy that's not going to do too much for us moving forward? You'd rather take a risk when it comes down to that level. So all in all, it's going straight. Caleb Williams been releasing his articles about how he moved to Norman, like we've said. It's great moving forward. And I'm really excited to see if we can get some surprise commitments moving forward. See where Tristan Lee and Kamara Wheaton and guys like that's recruitment going forward ends up. So Chenkui.
Tristan Lee did miss his Ohio State visit, so that's interesting, I guess.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a battle between us and LSU is what the moral of the story it is. That's the places he traveled recently, with the unofficial, real true unofficial visits, with no contact with any of the coaching staffs. He did the LSU Tiger visit, and then he did the Sooner Summit. So it's really just a toss-up between us. And, a lot of experts on Rivals and 247 have him kind of pegged as an OU favorite now. So moving forward, we'll just see what happens. But I don't think he's in too much of a rush to commit.
Guys, thanks for coming on. And we'll be back at it in a couple days for Pick'em. Not really. We're recording it immediately after this, but you'll hear us in a couple days. So, thanks as always for listening, everyone. This has been the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. And for me, Jamison and Ty, this has been the Schooner Pod. See you next time. Boomer Sooner.